All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Skinny Truth podcast. Sorry we left you guys hanging last week with no new episode. I had surgery and thought that I would be up to doing a podcast at 9:30 the next morning. And turns out I wasn't, but here we are. And all is well. I'm here with Dr. Josh Roller. And what are we going to talk about today?
Today, I think, we've had a lot of people ask questions and trust us, we're going to get to them all. But one of the questions that keeps coming up is, how does the process work? Like, how do I navigate insurance? What are the requirements? From that moment that I have my aha moment, what needs to happen? How does it work? How do I get from this aha moment to surgery? And, it can be a scary process when you start talking about insurance, because how many people are insurance experts?
Right.
It's very confusing. I mean, you can't hardly just take your kid to the regular pediatrician and not have it be intimidating. I mean, you've got a lot of kids, so you know that what that's
For
like.
Sure. Yeah, it is intimidating. Do they cover it? Are they going to cover it? Which surgery will they cover? And knowing like how to go about figuring that out is very scary or overwhelming. Overwhelming's the good word.
It can be probably the most overwhelming and intimidating part of the actual process. Not just, do I want surgery or not, but how am I going to get from point A to point B?
Right.
And I thought that's would be a good conversation to have today. So I think probably the best way to start is just let's talk about your experience. So you had your aha moment.
Yep.
And then you said, okay, I'm gonna do the surgery. What did you do? What was your next step?
So when I decided, okay, I'm doing this is the answer for me, I do believe I called my insurance company. And that was like my first step. I was like, I'm going to see if they cover it. And I got a roundabout answer, to be completely honest. And from what they told me, it made it sound like they were going to cover my surgery. And then when I started looking into it more with your office, it was another story. So therein lies like I didn't understand really what they told me.
Well, so one of the main things to realize when you're calling an insurance company, and this is probably true of a lot of big businesses, right? The person you're talking to isn't answering questions about your personal policy. They're answering, yes, Blue Cross covers weight loss surgery. Yes, United does. But then it gets right down to your specific policy, and they just want to get you off the phone.
Yeah.
That's it. They want you off the phone. And I think that's where you probably got the I want you off the phone answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of a scripted talk too. Like they click this box. If they say yes or no, then it goes to this box. So that's where I started. And I was like, oh, yay, they're going to pay for it. And then I actually just called your office. I knew the seminar was on there because I researched like the surgeries on your site. But I was like, I want to get in there. Like I want it tomorrow. So I got in, I got an appointment. And then that's how I got the ball rolling. They got me in very quickly. I mean, I think I was seen within like a week. I don't know if that's standard or not.
We did not know you were going to be famous at that point either, right?
I didn't have VIP treatment.
This is on the very front end.
Right, the very front end. And I got in very quickly to see you guys. And we got the ball rolling.
So generally speaking, you've had your decision. I don't think you need to call your insurance company first because you're probably not going to get the right answer. You can talk to maybe a colleague or a coworker if you have you work for the same employer. Hey, did our insurance and our company cover it? Then that's it covers it. So then you feel pretty good that it will. But our first step is we want people to make an informed decision. So you watch our online seminar. You can do it. Go to our website, rollerweightloss.com. You watch it at any point you want to. Now, back in the day, when I first started, those were all done in person at our office. So you had to carve out 2 hours on Thursday nights to come to. We used to go down to Fort Smith and do them. Now it's so much nicer and better for patients because you do it from wherever. But then at that point, our office will reach out to you because you've entered your information. And that's where the conversation starts about, okay, let me get your actual policy number, your insurance card. Because in general, across the board, Blue Cross, United, Aetna, Cigna, they all cover it. but it comes on that very specific policy. Does your employer cover it? And that's what it meant. So like all the major employers here in our area use Blue Cross Blue Shield. However, not all of them cover it.
Yeah. And I have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Oklahoma. And
it's very big insurance, and they do. So you have it. So then you got to figure out, okay, what about my policy? And then this is where it also gets intimidating. You come into that first appointment, you see Dr. Kristen, and then you meet with our person that does this, that says, okay, your policy does cover, and here are the actual specific requirements, because they're different from policy to policy. It can get crazy. Like some require 6 consecutive months of physician and dietitian supervised diet and exercise. Patients look at us like, well, I can't exercise. I have terrible knees and a back.
Right,
it's like, well,
right.
It's what it's called. But think about this, and I know that you've seen this. So when you find, and that's not all insurance companies, that's just one example. And it could be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. Some it's just a month, but in general, it's 3, 4, 6. How many people have you talked to that they want to do the surgery, then they go in and find out they have to wait 6 months?
Yeah, a lot of people. And that is a deterrent in itself, because it's like you've made up your mind, like, I'm ready to do this. I want change. And then you like hit a roadblock that's like, well, wait, you can't do this for 6 months. And that's really deterring, because I mean, I'm like a go-getter, I want it now kind of person. So then it kind of goes to the backside.
Well, and you're completely demoralized and deflated.
Yeah.
The average patient has researched this for 3 years before making that decision.
Wow.
So 3 years, and you finally get the courage, and you're like, I'm doing it, and you make the phone call, then you find that out. So it is a deterrent. It is meant to be a deterrent. But you got to think, like, way back when it started, when I ask people that are in charge of these kind of things, what is the actual point of it? Do you want to see if they can lose weight on their own? Is that why? Because if let's say you lost 20 pounds, then they turn around and go, see, she lost 20 pounds. She doesn't need surgery. But she's still 380 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's only been a few months. Or they go, look, she put on 2 pounds during this time. She's non-compliant.
Yeah. No.
It is a double-edged sword no matter what. So what we tell patients that have that is like, listen, we're going to use this time to get you ready for surgery. Okay. You've been suffering from this problem for a long time, but we're going to use this 6 months, these 3 months, these 4 months, these 6 months, if you have one of those periods, to get you ready. Now, in general, we don't feel like it takes that long to get a person ready.
Right.
And we hate making people wait. I hate it. Surgeons are also very type A, want to go, go, go. So none of this is conducive to my personality or yours.
Yes.
So, but you just like, we're going to take the time. Okay, let's start thinking about our exercise routines and our diets, and we're going to make little changes, getting you ready, that kind of thing. So we just have to kind of support each other and say, and so you can't let them win. You know you need it. It's life-saving surgery. It's going to help. So you get to that point, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to support each other, not let them get deterred. You pay your health premiums the entire time. And then you say, okay, now I've got to wait. Worse, like in your condition, you paid all this money for health premiums.
Right.
And deductibles and out of pockets and co-insurance and all the stuff.
And they
then
don't
you
cover
find
it.
out. Then you find out that.
Yeah. And it's a little bit of a shock when we could get on the insurance topic all day, but it is like you pay a lot of money, and then to find out like, oh my gosh, they're not going to pay anything. And it's a lot of money to come up with. There's no easy way around that when you're looking at self-pay. But I just really had to sit down and like have the conversation with myself and my husband, like, it's not just about the money. It's like about the life that I'm not able to live now, and that I will be able to live once I'm freed from my obesity. And in the long run, I think we've touched on this before, you end up saving so much money in the long run if you get healthy, as opposed, it seems like a lot of money up front. But if I continued at 400 pounds, I can only imagine the things that were going to pop up medically for me that would be expensive.
There's no doubt you paid for it already. And decreased food bills, decreased medical costs, decreased medications, time off work, doctor visits. It pays for itself. And I mean, just a quick stat, the average diabetic costs around $13,500 a year. So if the surgery, let's just say it's 18, 17, 18, whatever it is, you've paid for it 1.5 years.
Right. Yeah.
in 1.5
And
years.
it's really interesting when you say the food thing. That still, like 2.5 years later, comes up. And I'm like, I cannot believe that I used to eat X amount. Like, I'm eating something and it's such a smaller portion. But before, I would have had to have double that to make me feel satisfied. So you really do save a ton of money on eating out, on groceries.
Yep. You get good at leftovers
Yes.
because you're going to have them.
Yeah.
You know,
You
we
will.
do a little card at our place so adults can try to order off the kids menu. Not every place will honor that, but that's one way to try that you can save some money. But if not, you get the doggy bag, you take it home, and you have it for lunch and dinner. And sometimes it
Absolutely.
lasts longer. But I mean,
Right.
so that's another way when we run into the self-pay phenomenon. And when I first moved to Fayetteville and I found out like 2 days after I started my job that nobody covered weight loss surgery here, I mean, that was devastating to me. I was like, how am I going to get this practice off the ground? What am I going to do? I want to operate and nobody covers it. So we dealt with a lot of self-pay patients, and it's where outcomes are extremely important, and attention to detail, just being so meticulous. So that helped shape the rest of my surgical career. But the thing about it is, when you're looking at the cost, knowing what you know now, what would you have paid to get where you are now?
Oh my gosh. I would have paid triple. I mean, seriously, because it has literally changed every aspect of the way I live in my life and my happiness and my relationships and everything. You cannot put a cost on being healthy. And I always say health is wealth. Like, what is life if you're not healthy and you're overtaken by obesity? Yeah.
And you can't enjoy it. And so
yeah,
I put obesity, I put it as every bit as dangerous as cancer. Every bit as dangerous. It takes people's lives early. And in most cases, it causes lots of cancers, over 13 different types of cancers. And so if you got told by your insurance company, hey, we're not going to cover your cancer surgery, there's not a single person that would sit around and go, okay, I guess I just have to die of cancer.
Towel.
All right.
Yeah.
You're going to find a way. And so that's the struggle with obesity, and trying to get the employers and the payers to understand how dangerous it is. And it's literally our jobs in medicine. Yes, somebody got themselves into a bad spot, whether it's high blood pressure and a heart attack or it's obesity. That's what we do, is get people out of it. And it can. And so, it's worth, I know it's worth it. I've seen it too many times. I've had too many patients say they would do this 1,000 times over again.
Yeah.
So there are requirements using insurance, and thank goodness more and more insurance companies and employers are covering it. I know for us in our area now, Walmart and Tyson and JB Hunt and Simmons Foods, they all cover it. University of Arkansas now covers it. These are all things I did throughout the years to try to show the benefits of it. And, to their credit, they're fantastic employers, and they get it, and they care about their people. And so we're just anytime I have a patient that's having to pay, be self-pay, I always ask them who their employer is, because I'm putting a call into that HR. Just to see if I can make any headway. So that's the first step. Does it cover it? And the next step is, what are the requirements? Do I have this 3, 4, and 6 months? Do I have to be, some insurances in the very beginning, or like you have to have a BMI 40 and you have to be diabetic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's changing.
It was changing. That was years ago. And then we had people calling up at that point in time going, how do I become diabetic?
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to become diabetic. That is not the whole point. So it was a bad behavior. It was instigating. It just wrong.
Or I need to gain weight. I need to gain 10 pounds to meet this BMI, which seems so counterintuitive. Like,
it's really bad. And so we don't encourage that. So they are covering that. So some requirements that we do commonly see is you need to have a BMI between 35 and 39. And usually with that, in that range, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, sleep apnea, bad joints, back. And again, every policy is different. So you do have to look at it. Your office, the doctor's office, should be able to help you with that. Or if your BMI is 40 and higher, then you don't necessarily need to have any of those things.
That just gets you.
Yeah, a lot of times they'll want to know a weight history, and where they want to see weights, documented weights for like the last 3 years, just to say, hey, you didn't gain 60 pounds in a year or the last 6 months.
Yeah.
But the problem with a lot of our patients is they try not to go out in public. They try not to go to the doctor. So coming up with documented weights is tough. And then But what if they did gain 80 pounds in a year? What if their mom died and they'd been depressed and like it's irrelevant how they got here. Now we're here.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, because I mean, I gained in 2020 like 60 pounds. It was COVID. I was postpartum. It was just awful. So what? Then they won't cover it sometimes?
If you don't have, you have to wait till you get that documented weight history. And again, they're all different. And so it's a very policy specific to your employer and to the insurance company. And I mean, I've got literally half an army of people in my office that just do insurance. And I never... Doctors should not have to know insurance like this.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's good healthcare. It is what we have. And there's places where, like for instance, Obamacare does not cover it in certain states, and it does cover it in other states. So, it gets even more confusing when it comes to that. And so it really is important to dial in after that first appointment of what I have to do, come up with a plan about how you're going to accomplish it. Do not get demoralized by that, and then use it. And I will say, if you can't do the exercise, it's not our expectation that you're out there training for a triathlon. It's actually dangerous, I think. But use it to get yourself right. I'm sure you had moments where you were, okay, I know what's going to happen now. How am I going to get ready for it?
Yeah. For sure. And that is also overwhelming because you are at your heaviest. Like you're asking for help because you need this tool to help you do these things. So it's really hard before you've had surgery to be able to do them. So just do the best you can. Implement, like we said, baby steps as you go, because in the end, those add up to big things and you'll have started developing good habits. But don't beat yourself up if you're not able to do it before, because that's why you're having surgery.
Yeah, you're just trying. You're just like, okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, it was hard, but why was it hard? It's hard because I'm heavy right now. Well, that's going to change. So that's going to get better. Or is it hard because I don't like this flavor or the consistency of this protein drink? But even that changes after surgery.
For sure.
Stuff you like before, you may not like after, and vice versa.
Don't stock up on a whole bunch of stuff because you might not like it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so, we tried, our kind of rule at our place is we try to get people in within 2 weeks. If we aren't able to, then we start opening up more clinic availability. Now, sometimes patients want to book, out a month and start like after spring break. Things like that. So that's our general rule. And that's why it's so important for people, if you do have one of those insurance plans where it's 4 or 6 months, that let's just say take a 6-month plan that you have to do with your doctor for 6 months. If you start in August, September, October, November, December, January, you're now in a new year.
Yep.
So all the money you put towards your testing and the workup that's been done, all towards that deductible, which deductibles are all high now. Now you start over in a new year, and so if you have one of those plans, you want to get started now so you can have surgery by the end of the year. And that's why our fourth quarter is always so crazy busy, as people are like, I met my deductible, I want surgery. It's like, well, your insurance isn't going to let us. And it doesn't matter how ridiculous I think the policy is. The Pope himself could write a letter to the insurance company. It doesn't matter. It is what's there.
Yeah, it's written in the book, and that's what goes.
That's what they do. And if they change it for one person, now they've got to open it up to lots of people. So we have payers that, like, for instance, it's becoming more uncommon, but in the beginning for duodenal switch, you had to have a BMI over 50 for them to cover it. And so what do you do about somebody who really needs a duodenal switch because they really need ibuprofen, for their arthritis in their hands? That's something that's not weight related. Right. And their BMI is 48. You're like, come on. Where is the cutoff line? Obviously, in lots of things, there are cutoffs, and there has to be, but there is no wiggle room either. So that becomes a struggle as a doctor because you're like, or a surgeon, this is the right procedure over here, but I can't.
You can't do it.
I can't do it. Insurance is telling me no, or I can't do this revision, even though their surgery was done 20 years ago. It wasn't done right, but it doesn't fit these little check boxes on the policy. So I think, heading to an experience program that's used to dealing with insurance is the best way to find out for sure that's the whether it's covered, what the requirements are. There is nothing worse than going through the process and then finding out, oh, it doesn't cover or the requirements are wrong. And we usually will triple check on these policies. Once somebody first calls, once at their new appointment, and then about halfway through. That's what we like. A lot of the newer policies, we don't have to do all the waiting game. So they're better, a lot better. So I think that's important. How do you feel when it comes to, you had your new appointment, you did your evaluation with Dr. Kristen, and then what was the next step as far as, getting your testing done? What happened then?
Right. So your office called, ran my insurance before the appointment. And then I found out, no, they don't cover this. It's an exclusion on my plan. So they kind of gave me a heads up of what the cost was going to be. And we actually, on my first appointment, did all of the testing that I was able to do. So I think it was an echo, a venous ultrasound, stress test, the scope,
labs,
and lab work. Labs. Yep. So I knocked everything out that I needed done at that first visit as a self-pay. Met with a dietitian. Yep. And knocked it all out. And then at that point, it was waiting on test results, waiting to get cleared from all of those aspects, and then getting the final call to schedule surgery. So as a self-pay patient, it can be very fast as long as your testing clears okay and all is well.
Right.
Well, I was going to ask, because I get this question all the time with self-pay. So if somebody's insurance does not cover it and they're self-pay, what is your recommendation? And they need help financing it. Do you guys help with that, or?
We have a couple companies that we work with. One is called Care Credit, and there's some other ones that they'll do even sometimes 0% interest loans on that. And really the big expense of the whole thing is usually the hospital. It just... it's expensive, but our hospital has been really good and gotten it down as low as we can get it. But we do finance it. I will say, just because your insurance doesn't cover it doesn't mean they won't cover the doctor's visit and the testing. So they will do that, and they will cover follow-up appointments, because we're not necessarily seeing you for bariatric surgery. We're assessing your health status and doing normal office visits and testing that people need. And all of it's in preparation for surgery. So it's just an exclusion on the surgery itself.
I will say mine covered the pre-op testing, and I think even they're covering my follow-up visits. So,
well, in our office, it's a family practice doctor and family nurse practitioners and PAs. And so, again, we're not saying, are you having problems with your bariatric surgery? It's, okay, what's your health like now? What are your vitamin levels like? Just, it's a normal wellness visit is the best way to describe it. And those are covered. But yeah, the financing is an important deal. It's obviously a bigger deal now with inflation and interest rates, and that makes it even harder. But it is out there, and the company we work with is really good. They do a good job, and they understand the importance of it. So again, it's another hurdle that can be jumped. You just can't get discouraged by it all and overwhelmed. And the self-pays do get to go a lot faster. We're able to do the testing on everybody, in that same day. But if you have 6 months, then we can spread it out too, so it's just, there's different ways to do it to cater it to the patient. I guess the main thing, though, you just realize I am not going to get upset by this. It's going to happen. My insurance covers it. That's what especially the people have to wait 3, 4, 6 months.
Yeah.
I go, just be so thankful that your insurance covers it, because some people, yes, they get to go faster, but they don't have insurance that covers it.
Right. Yeah.
So there is a positive side to having to wait just a little bit. And probably the other take-home message is, yes, it's 6 months, but you didn't get here in 6 months. So give us 6 months to help get you out of it.
Yeah.
Just, it's time. No one wants to wait, especially us, but it is worth the wait. The surgery will be worth it.
It is so worth the wait. Yes. People, I say that all the time. It might look like a long journey, but I cannot tell you how worth it is once you're to the other side of this and you're free. That is the word that I use to describe, is just, I feel free now.
How far out are you from your original weight loss?
2 years and 3 months ish. It was December of 2021.
How fast has it gone?
So fast. so fast. And that, I tell people this, because you know the quote that's like with kids, what is it? The days are long, but the years are short. I'm like, that applies to my weight loss journey. Some days it's so daunting, like how am I ever going to lose 270 pounds? I'm never going to be able to do that. But over 2 years has passed and here I am. Like I did it. And so it seems like forever. It seems like you'll never get there, but it happens so fast. Like
once you do that, you make that decision and you call, you watch the seminar, have your new evaluation. It will seem slow, but in reality, it's still at warp speed.
Yes,
and,
it is.
You know, there's, like I said, just use that time to encourage yourself, practice, knowing it's like you're not going to be as successful as you will once you have the tool. But once you get that tool, it is game on. It's such a fun time. So that's kind of the process in a nutshell. You know, what are the requirements? Do you meet them? Does your insurance cover, not cover? And then, you know, your surgeon's office will help you navigate that process, so they should. I mean, it's
right.
It's something we knew early on when I first started. I mean, it was my wife and I and a nurse and an office manager and front office person, and that was our practice. And then we realized real quickly, like, we don't know anything about insurance.
Right.
Like, why are you guys asking me? This person clearly needs surgery, BMI 50, diabetic, hypertensive. I'm a bariatric surgeon. I do weight loss surgery. This person meets medical criteria.
Right. And you're telling me they can't have it.
But you got to know, then you got to go through the insurance criteria. I mean, it was so bad early on that when if you had like those 6 months, it was 6 consecutive months. So if you missed month 4 for whatever reason, you had to start over.
Oh my gosh. It was terrible.
It was hard. And so that's where we realized we needed to help people understand this insurance thing. If we're going to get there, because otherwise I'm not doing surgery and they're not going to have surgery.
Right. Yeah.
And we're not helping anybody.
Exactly.
When that's the case. So hard process, made a lot easier now. Lots of improvements. Don't get deterred. Stay positive. Lots of really good things will happen if you can stay the course.
Yes. And just one call can literally change the trajectory of your life. It seems so cliche, but it's just that one phone call just to look into it and ask for help. So
yeah, we're a phone call away. So we're going to say thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to our podcast. We really enjoy doing this, and I'm really lucky to get to work with the amazing Laura Flusche. I'm still... I still get in awe every time, that I see you. Because it's just, I don't even remember your old pictures. I don't remember that at all. But it's a really fun thing for us to do. Hopefully this clarifies the whole process from the moment you decide to have surgery to the surgical process. And we'll cover follow-up and stuff like that in another episode. But thank you for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Spotify and the podcast, and share, follow, subscribe to our channel. We would love for you to do that and tell all your friends about it. So until then, we will see you next time.